Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Tuesday, the 10th of September. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which is not looking great in the sense that we've managed to stall either side of the 50-day line around 82.30, and we've also got an RSI failure at neutral 50, which can be a leading indicator on the downside, so you would expect, while we're below recent resistance, intraday resistance around 82.75, that we will make fresh lows and maybe even hit the floor of that rising trend channel now around 80.60. Obviously, we might get away with it in the sense that the recent support, 81.65, so early and end of day close back below that would suggest that we're heading down, but keep an eye on that RSI indicator over the next day or two. Moving on to the DAX, and here the bounce off the rising 50-day line continues. That's was 18,300. Just looking for this market to then find resistance at the May resistance line there, 18,600, the top of that red falling trend channel. Obviously, we're looking for that to be broken in order to get back to the highs. On the downside, end of day close back below the 50-day line, and we have the risk of a move down to the floor of the May channel and the floor of the rising trend channel, well, the 200-day moving average, in fact, there at 17,800. RSI just on the right side of 50, so glass half full there at the moment. Moving on to the Dow, and here you can see that we've made good on our rebound, which was actually above the 50-day line, so that's actually a positive. Still looking for an end-of-day close really above 41,000 to give us a route up to the best levels of the year, record levels, and that bull trap that we had through 41,000. On the downside, end-of-day close back below the 50-day line at 40,000, and we're risking a test of the floor of that rising trend channel from September. Back at 39,400, but ideally we stay above that 50-day line, and with the RSI above neutral 50, things are looking at least stable after the rug pull that we had last week. Moving on to Bitcoin, which continues to baffle. I think here you can see that we managed to avoid hitting that support line projection. Obviously, it's a bit of a grey area exactly where it was, but let's say it was at that level, 52,000, and we're now ready to at least rally towards the 50-day moving average at 60,400, maybe the same retest that we had last month of the 200-day line through 64,000. The only missing ingredient is that the RSI is still below neutral 50, and while we're below that at 46, then there is the risk of a further test of that February support line projection within this falling trend channel that we've had since that month. I suppose the resistance line there heading towards the 67,000 area now. Moving on to gold, and here we always hope that this is going to be the best of the bunch, and it continues to be so. RSI remaining above 50, the support now intraday above 25.20, the initial August resistance, which is important to us, and looking for this market to head up to the top of that rising trend channel, 26.55, the December channel, and hoping for that by the end of this month as a best case scenario. If we do break down, not looking for anything lower now than 24.70 in the floor of that rising trend channel from the end of last year. Moving on to the stocks, and starting off with Avacta, where we were sort of hoping and praying that this market would push through the 200-day line, but as you can see, we've had a sliding move beneath it, and the 200-day line there at 73 pence now. What we don't want to see today is an end-of-day close back below the 50-day moving average. You can see that we bounced off that back in August, so that was actually a support point, and so if you're a fan of the shares, we're hoping that this is an intraday turnaround, or an intraday turnaround could be on its way, but still waiting for that end-of-day close above that 200-day moving average. If we do break down, then the obvious area is the 65 pence area, which was mid-August support. Moving along to Audioboom, which had a flash update, which was very interesting. Here, the problem is that every time we've had a rally in the recent past, it's been sold off within a day or two, so maybe this situation is going to be the same. We've got a very strong line of resistance there from April, and that's flummoxed the shares many times in the interim. The resistance line at the moment around £2.36, so we need to see an end-of-day close above that, and ideally above the 200-day moving average at £2.47. The best thing, though, here is that we can clear the resistance that there's been up towards 265, which has really been quite stubborn. So probably at this stage, even though we've got a bear trap gap reversal, which is a very strong signal, we need to see further proof that this market is able to rally and sustain beyond the 50-day moving average, the blue line there, which has been the block since the spring. Moving on to Celadon, which was one of the better calls here in the recent past. Here we had the rally after the break of that neckline resistance at around 31 pence. We were looking for the gap to be filled up to 52 pence, which was done, but we haven't managed to make much progress above that. The key here is that we need to see this stock back above the 50-day line, just around the 51 pence level. And if they close above 51, then we could be looking into the low 60s, but has to be admitted that at this stage we may have seen the best of the rally. Moving on to CyanConnode, which also had news today. Here you can see that we've got a gap higher through the 200-day moving average there at 9.2 pence. There's a line of resistance at the top of the triangle there from March, so that needs to be beaten at 9.6 pence. If we can do that, then we could be heading up to as high as 12.6 pence at the October triangle from last year as soon as the end of next month. The key here, though, is staying above the floor of the latest gap, around 8.6 pence. On to Futura, where there are positive stirrings in terms of the chart. We broke that main resistance line there from February earlier in the month, or actually at the beginning of the month, and that was around 37 pence. And a U-shaped turnaround as well. We've got the 50 and 200-day lines both rising as well, so that suggests we're about a week away from a golden cross. So still looking for the shares to get up into the low 50s, the top of that channel there from last October at 53 pence, even though we've come back so far intraday. Ideally, we stay above the initial September resistance at 40 pence. Moving along to the situation at Goldplat, and here bear trap gap reversal last month. We've got rising 50 and 200-day lines now. U-shaped bull flag breakout, as I call it. A break of 7 pence, and we should be looking at retesting 8.6, 8.7 pence as soon as the end of this month. Quite confident about this turnaround, given the way that we are in the run-up to a golden cross, and we had that unfilled gap to the upside. In fact, it was a bear trap island reversal, gap down in July, and then gapped up last month. So one of the strongest signals around, or setups around. Moving on to Georgina, and here it looks as though the bears have relented for now. We do have resistance there around the 12.3 pence level. Obviously, the stock came to market at 12.5, so we want to see the shares back above 12.5 pence, and then hopefully they can then retest the best levels that we saw last month up towards the 19 pence level. But early days in terms of waiting for that 12.5 pence area to be broken. On to hVIVO, which had a cracking update today, and here you can see that we've gapped up again. We gapped up in July. We've held the floor of the gap there, so this is looking pretty bullish, and we've also had people, institutions buying into the stock since then. The floor of the channel there from back in December around the 29 pence level. Above that, we are looking for up to 36 pence by the end of next month, hoping that the shares will finally move. Obviously, we've been in a positive consolidation here since the turn of the year, hoping that the fundamentals will finally kick in and influence the technicals. Next up is a stock which is probably not the most popular in town, but or followed in town. But here we've got a rising trend. We've got a rising trend channel base. Floor of the channel there looks to be at 42 pence on Inspecs, and we're looking for 70 pence by the end of next month, especially given the way that we've got the 50-day line now rising quite nicely for the shares. There is a block there at the 200-day line, but we're hoping that the latest turnaround will crack that. On to mobile streams, where I spoke to the CEO, Mark Epstein, yesterday. It was a good call, and I was impressed. Here we've got a situation where there's been obviously a massive run. It's one of the best performers on AIM so far this year, with the latest run that we've had since last month. Looking for the shares to break 0.12 over the next few sessions, and then potentially, as a best case scenario, hit 0.19 pence, which is an October resistance line projection from last year. Ideally, we stay on the right side of the 0.09.1 pence area ahead of that particular scenario. On to the last few, and here, stock which I don't think anybody's heard of, and probably don't even know the ticker code, but it's Newmark Security. Very good update today. rising trend channel there from back in the spring of 2021. We're looking for the shares to head up to £1.25, I suppose, over the next couple of months, especially while they remain above the 200-day moving average at 86 pence. So a decent trending situation there and improving fundamentals. On to Orosur, which has risen 37% on the return of the ANZA project, but I suppose it really should be much higher than that. Top of the range there around 5 3/4 pence, so we're looking for that by the end of next month, being conservative. And today also marks a gap close buy signal above the 3 pence level, so ideally we stay above the top of that August gap, whatever happens today and in future days. Finishing off with a pet favourite of mine, which is Oncimmune. Here, Bear Trap Island reversal since June, and we broke the 200-day line with quite a bang yesterday at around 20 pence. Still looking for 30 pence plus as soon as the end of this month. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.